What is going on, everyone? Mr. Rage coming at you guys with a brand new video. I'm really excited to make this video because this is going to be my first ever movie review on this channel, and I cannot be more excited. And we are actually, we're going to be reviewing one of my favorite, well, I wouldn't say absolute favorite, but one of my most beloved found footage horror films of all time, and that is Paranormal Activity. So I cannot wait to review this movie for you guys. Really hope you enjoyed the video. So, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Starting off with the story. So, Paranormal Activity tells a story of a couple, Mika and Katie, who are living inside of this suburban house but are being haunted by, well, paranormal activity. Straight to the point there. For the most part, the story is your typical found footage horror film. I'm pretty sure this did come after Blair Witch, so found footage horror films were pretty new at the time because I don't think there was one that came before Blair Witch, and I'm pretty sure this one came after. Correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty sure this one came after Blair Witch. But the film is your very typical found footage type horror film. You've got these characters who are experiencing scary stuff around them, so they decide to document it with the camera, and that's where it basically turns into a movie. So, when you put the story, when you compare it to the other sequels, the story of Paranormal Activity 1 is definitely the weakest. It doesn't even have a plot. It's definitely the weakest when you compare it to the later sequels in the Paranormal Activity franchise. But luckily, Paranormal Activity Part 2, the story of Paranormal Activity 2 and the plot of Paranormal Activity 2 are actually directly connected to Paranormal Activity 1. So Paranormal Activity 2's plot actually kind of helps the plot for Paranormal Activity 1 because, as I just said, it's directly connected to Paranormal Activity 1, the story and plot of Paranormal Activity 2. And you gotta cut the developers some slack because I'm pretty sure this film was made on a budget. So you kind of gotta, you gotta cut up some slack because, this film was most likely made with a low budget. So they probably didn't have a whole lot of time to give it a really good story and stuff. But yeah, so the story is there is this couple, they're living inside this house just trying to live a normal life, but unfortunately they are being haunted by paranormal events. And we later find out in the film that the character Katie, it's actually not the house that's haunted, it's her, because we find out from her that she has been experiencing these paranormal events since childhood, and ever since then she has still been experiencing them, and that brings us to the events of Paranormal Activity 1. They even call a psychic, and the psychic confirms this. It's not the house that's haunted, it is Katie herself. And like I just said, she has been experiencing these events since she was 8 years old, and the same was for her sister. But yeah, that's pretty much the story. That's pretty much the only story. You've just got these characters, these two characters, Mika and Katie, who are just trying to live a normal life inside their home, just a normal happy life, and now they are being haunted by these paranormal events. And of course, the character Mika decides to document and record the paranormal events. Very, very clever. So that's pretty much the story, guys. What do I think of the story? Like I said, it's very, very generic. Not there's no plot or anything, but like I said though, when you just put the film on its own and just look at the just Paranormal Activity 1 and just ignore the rest of the sequels, it's decent because like I said, the sequels do have a much better story. But yeah. So now we're going to be talking about the characters. So for the most part, the only characters that we see in this film is just Mika and Katie. We do get to see Katie's mom, but she only gets like two scenes in a movie, so we're not going to be talking about her at all. My favorite character is actually Mika. The thing I like about Mika is how basically fearless he is, and also very cocky. He's actually not even scared of the paranormal events that are happening around the house. The only thing that Mika wants to do is he actually wants to capture it on film. He even asks Katie how can he get the stuff to happen? Like how can he get the scary stuff to happen so that way he could actually record it? Throughout the entire film, Mika is very cocky and confident, and I also love how fearless he is because even when the scary stuff is literally happening around him, the first thing he grabs is his camera so he can record everything because that's what he wants. He wants to get everything on film. And I also love how fearless he is. In one of the scenes of the film, like both of the characters, like Mika and Katie, they start hearing loud noises around the house, and unlike Katie, who's just scared, which he should be, Mika is just breaking down doors, like he's knocking down the doors to see where the noises are coming from. Like he's not even scared of it. I mean, he is, but like he's brave, and I love that. I love how brave he is because like it's so like uncliche because usually instead of the character just running with the camera away and stuff like Mika just goes straight at it and he even tries to talk to the demon that is haunting them. He does a test like I'm not sure what you call it where you like use a microphone or something to try and talk to him, and then he uses a computer to hear if it talks back to him. Like, and he even buys a Ouija board. I love Mika. He's definitely my favorite character. I love how like he's kind of badass to be honest, because I love how fearless and confident he is. And throughout the film, he doesn't even want Katie to reach outside for help because Katie was supposed to call a demonologist in the film, and Mika's like, you don't do that. I'm gonna take care of it. Like that's literally what he's like throughout the entire film. He's very confident and thinks that he doesn't need any help, and he thinks that he can take care of it all on his own. And that's what I like about him. I love how cocky and badass he is, and also how brave he is. So for me, Mika is definitely my favorite character in this film, and I also love how loving he is. Like because like he's truly trying to like solve this problem and he wants Katie and himself to live a normal life. So I like that a lot too about Mika's character. So Mika's character, in my opinion, he's probably the best character in this film. And of course you got Katie. She is the sympathetic one because like you truly do feel sorry for her because like she just wants everything to go away and she just wants to be normal and she's tired of being scared. She is basically the sympathetic one. She's also the scared one, just like every female in these horror films. But like the thing about this one is like she's not just scared of it because like like oh something scary's happening. That's not it. She's scared of it because this has been happening to her since she was a child. Katie's been suffering through this ever since she was 8 years old, just like she says. So that's why she's so scared of it because she's already experienced this throughout mostly her entire life. So that like she has a reason to be scared of it, unlike other female characters in horror films who are just scared of it because it's a scary thing. Like Katie's scared of it because like she's been going through it since she was a child. So that's what I love about Katie. So now we're going to be talking about the actual scares. So the scares in Paranormal Activity, the film actually starts off very, very tame. There's barely anything scary happening, and you just see these characters just documenting everything and just kind of, you see them living out their lives, like you see what they do in their daily lives. But as the film progresses and as the nights go on, the film does start to ramp up the scares and the demonic entity that is haunting them as the days go on. The demonic entity slowly starts to become much more aggressive, and the paranormal events, they start happening much, much more frequently. So this is a very slow paced movie, but like as the movie goes on, it starts to become much, much more scarier. And of course, the scares mostly happen at night. Basically, the guy Mika will set up his camera. As you can see in this clip, here, like they'll set up the camera, they'll record themselves sleeping, and as they're sleeping, you'll see what's happening. Like you'll see that, like in the first paranormal event that happens is a door starts to open up on its own, which is again kind of tame. But then in the next night, they hear a very loud bang, and then like they hear something like a roar, kind of like they hear like a demonic screech, and like obviously there's nothing there when they go downstairs, just like every other horror film. But like it's still like that's just how the scare factor works in this film. It starts off very slow, but as the film goes on, it becomes much, much more scary. My favorite scare is definitely when Katie gets dragged out of bed, because in one of the, I'd say the most scariest part, Katie actually gets dragged out of the bed and she gets dragged down the hall. And when Mika gets her back, obviously, and saves her and looks on her back, there is a huge bite mark on her back. Another really clever scene is like there's this is a very clever scene too. Very clever. This is a great scene. There's one scene where Mika decides to do something. He does a little experiment. He puts powder all over the floor, so that way if something actually comes into their room, whatever it is, it'll leave footprints. But instead of like instead of the prince coming inside the room, like he'll see the like instead of the prince coming inside the room, it actually goes out. So like the demon or whatever, it was already inside their room. Like he sees the footprints leading out of the room instead of leading in. I thought that was an extremely clever scene because like it's very chilling knowing that this thing was already inside the room as they were sleeping, because Mika's plan was to see how the footprints were leading inside the room, but instead they were leading out. And like they actually go inside the attic because the footprints lead them to the attic, and there they find a picture of Katie, which was supposed to be destroyed because Katie's old house when she was a child did there was a house fire and it did get burned down. And like they find a picture that was supposed to be like destroyed and lost forever, but they find it inside their attic, and stuff like that actually adds a little bit of a supernatural and psychological aspect to the film as well, and to the scare factor. Yeah, this is pretty much how every paranormal activity film works. In the beginning, it starts off very tame. The paranormal activity starts very slowly. It's not as bad, but as the film comes down to the end, like during the end or like when it's getting closer to the end, like this, let me tell you, this is how every paranormal activity film works. I'm not even lying. Every paranormal activity film works just like this. Around the end of the film, or when it's coming close to the end, the activity goes from here to here and shit just hits the fucking fan, and you went from just things moving on their own to doors moving on their own and just hearing strange noises. Now like the activity, the paranormal activity, it's through the roof now, and shit has officially hit the fan. That's exactly how every paranormal activity film works. And that's pretty much what it's like on this one, because scary stuff, like, because at one part scary stuff even starts happening to Katie and Mika even in the daytime. Like, well, as they're eating in the daytime, they actually start to hear more strange stuff. They hear a bang, something has smashed their picture of them together. And another really clever scene, Katie says that she could feel the thing breathing on her, and you could actually see it. Like, you could see her hair moving because something is breathing behind, it's breathing on her neck. I thought that was another very clever scene. So yeah, now we're going to be talking about one last thing, and that is the sounds. Paranormal Activity does not have a soundtrack, and this is going to be true for all found footage horror films, because the thing about found footage horror is like it's trying to go for realism, and you can't really have realism if there's a soundtrack or just scary music playing. That just takes out the realism. So of course, Paranormal Activity does not have any soundtrack. Uh, but I'll tell you one thing that it does have. During the end, like the end credits, it has like a very ambient, dark sound playing. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be some kind of a theme or something, but it's just a very dark and ambient theme that plays at the end of the movie, which makes it all the more scary. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, now we are going to get to the rating. Now, if you guys don't know how my rating works, one skull means absolute garbage, not even worth watching. So bad it hurt me physically. Two skulls means so bad it's good. Three skulls means okay and decent. Four skulls means very good, and five skulls means best film ever, best film of all time. Paranormal Activity is going to be sitting at four skulls. Paranormal Activity is a very good film, and if you are a fan of horror films and just a fan of just wanting to get scared and just a hardcore horror fan and just someone who loves the horror genre in general, I would definitely recommend Paranormal Activity, and you're going to love it so much more if you actually like found footage. If you love found footage, Paranormal Activity, it's where that's exactly where it's at. If you are a fan of found footage horror, start off with Paranormal Activity. You will not be disappointed. This is probably one of the best found footage horror films out there, besides VHS. Spoiler alert: VHS has a much better story, much better characters. It is my favorite found footage horror film. VHS is my favorite found footage horror film. I know that a lot will be like, like why? Like, why would you want that instead of Paranormal Activity? Um, Paranormal Activity is good, but it's definitely not my favorite found footage horror franchise. My favorite found footage horror franchise is always going to be VHS. We will be reviewing that very soon, by the way, because I think I'm really going to. I think I'm going to start making more reviews for these found footage films, because the thing about found footage horror is like it adds so much realism. Like if done right, if they could actually do it right, they can make a found footage horror film one scary ass and realistic ride if they actually know what they're doing. And Paranormal Activity, it's one of those movies, man. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching my first ever movie review. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know, what do you think of Paranormal Activity, and do you think this film deserves the rating I gave it? Do you think it should be lower or higher? Let me know, guys. But anyway, stay tuned for my review for Paranormal Activity 2. All the videos have been pre-recorded, and I will be uploading them as soon as I have time. But yeah, this is going on YouTube immediately, so hope you guys enjoy it. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what film do you want to see me review next, or game, for example. And let me know if you are enjoying my reviews in general, because this is a new thing on my channel. I just now started reviewing movies. So let me know what you think of this new aspect of my channel. So anyways, guys, thanks again so much for watching. Happy Halloween, and take care, guys. This is Mr. Rage signing off. Bye-bye, guys.